Today, we're talking about the controversy Mia Khalifa has found herself wrapped up in, an update regarding another horrific attack perpetuated by Hamas militants, the new charges brought against Representative George Santos, and more, all in today's episode of the Insight Hour. Sup, gals and pals? Glad you could find your way to our little corner of the internet. But first, we have an announcement in regards to the late Dianne Feinstein Senate seat. Alice?
Former Major League Baseball MVP Steve Garvey, who played for the Los Angeles Dodgers and San Diego Padres, has announced his entry into the U.S. Senate race in California. The 74-year-old is running as a Republican for the seat left vacant by Democratic Senator Dianne Feinstein's recent passing. Despite never having held an elected office, Garvey is leveraging his deep-rooted history in the state, emphasizing his career with the Dodgers and Padres in his campaign video. He aims to address issues such as small business support, homelessness, national security, and education.
Yeah, so if you're in California, it's time to start paying attention, because I'm sure the next announcements are coming down the pipeline pretty soon. Anyways, Alice, let's get to the main story now.
Up first, we have a story that intersects the worlds of entertainment, politics, and social media. Mia Khalifa, media personality and former adult actress, has reportedly been released from her podcasting contract with Playboy due to her comments on the Israel-Hamas conflict. Playboy severed ties with Khalifa, describing some of her comments as disgusting and reprehensible.
Okay, so Mia Khalifa, who's recently been creating content for Playboy's digital platform, had expressed support for Palestinian freedom on social media. She urged Palestinian, quote, freedom fighters to film protests horizontally to better showcase them, and later clarified that she wasn't advocating for violence, but highlighting the need for Palestinian liberation. In response, Playboy terminated its working relationship with her. Additionally, the owner of an Amsterdam-based cannabis company that partnered with Khalifa tweeted that she was fired. She later expressed regret about, quote, not checking whether or not she was entering business with Zionists. Now, all this has churned up some debate about cancel culture, some arguing this amounts to a modern form of ostracism that suppresses free expression, while others contend that it's necessary to hold public figures accountable for harmful rhetoric and ideologies. Okay, so full disclosure, if you're unfamiliar with me, first off, hi! Nice to meet you. I'm Digi. Welcome to the channel. Second off, while at this point in my life I consider myself more of an independent, I would say that my beliefs typically align more with the left, like them Bernie-crat lefts. Now that we've cleared that up, in Mia Khalifa's case, some see her as a feminist icon due to leaving the adult industry for other work. They criticize what they view as an attempt to cancel a vocal woman over her political views. Others counter that companies have the right to distance themselves from those who don't align with their corporate values or risk alienating consumers, really illuminating complexities around cancel culture and its impact. You know, personally, what I find the most disturbing about this is that the moment she expressed her political view, she was canceled faster than a sitcom with bad ratings. Like, isn't that a little ironic? A figure who could be a poster child for progressive causes gets thrown under the bus by the very people who amplified her voice in the first place. It's like a snake eating its own tail, but this particular snake is wearing a coexist bumper sticker. So like, what's the deal? Why do you think we're so quick to cancel someone who's been a symbol for overcoming societal norms and stigmas? Is it because we hold these figures to some form of higher standard, even though they're human too and do deserve the right to their own opinion? Or is it because the mob has no loyalty? Either way, it's not a good look.
Horrific attacks carried out by Hamas militants on civilians in southern Israel have been reported. At least 70 people were ruthlessly murdered at Kibbutz Kfar Aza, located near the Gaza border. The victims included some 40 infants and young children.
Alright, now details emerging from the scene paint a pretty gruesome picture, so just a heads up. Survivors had described Hamas extremists breaking into homes and gunning down entire families as they slept. Some victims were described with hands bound and showing signs of execution-style shootings. And sadly, several children were found decapitated. Sorry for the bleep, I'm a little hesitant due to the censors. Anyways, Israeli soldiers say that attackers left behind grenades and booby traps, hindering recovery efforts. The village is currently littered with corpses that troops are still working to identify and remove. Kfar Aza bore the brunt, but other locations in southern Israel have come under attack in the onslaught. The aggressors infiltrated under the cover of night through underground tunnels from Gaza, carrying out the attack during the Jewish Sabbath when families were gathered at home. So far, over 1,100 Israelis have lost their lives to the conflict, with thousands more wounded, many of which were civilians. Israel has retaliated with airstrikes aimed at the militants in Gaza. At least 830 Palestinians have been killed, including women and hundreds of children. As casualties multiply, the international community has begun urgently calling for calm and restraint. But the events of recent days have made it clear that those calls are falling on deaf ears.
Federal prosecutors have slapped Representative George Santos of New York with 23 additional charges, including identity theft and wire fraud. The allegations also include making unauthorized charges on a supporter's credit card and transferring the funds to his personal account.
The ongoing saga of Congressman George Santos is a roller coaster going through a hallway of mirrors. This man looked at the bull in the china shop and said, "Hold my beer." Santos is facing a mountain of charges for deceiving pretty much, well, everyone. Conspiracy, wire fraud, identity theft, credit card fraud. Really, just the whole enchilada. My guy considers ethic laws more casual suggestions. Let's recap some of the plot, shall we? Santos is one of those types of guys who has allegedly helped himself to donor credit cards, poached cash from a fundraiser for a veteran's dying service dog, lied about his time as a drag queen, which there's nothing wrong with. It's just weird to lie about it when people had receipts. So how has Santos lasted this long? Well, election watchdogs like the FEC are clearly snoozing on the job, not to mention the crickets from the Republican Party when they should have kicked his con man ass to the curb. Moral leadership right now is really nowhere to be found. Well, anyways, now Santos is awaiting his day in court later this month. You can bet every politician in New York is thirsty for his contested seat. Hopefully some good emerges from this mess. Maybe it can inspire some momentum for reforming campaign finance laws. We can hope, right? I mean, probably not, but it could. For now, just grab some popcorn and observe the chaos unfolding. With grifters like Santos infesting the halls of power, there's really never a dull moment in American politics anymore. Now the question remains, how much more corruption are we willing to tolerate before we demand better? Stay tuned to find out.
Jason St. Pierre, the principal of Walker High School in Louisiana, has requested a leave of absence after facing backlash for punishing a student, Kaylee Timonette, for dancing at an off-campus party he saw on social media.
So here we have a classic tale of too little too late. Initially, St. Pierre removed Kaylee from her student government position and revoked her college scholarship recommendation. St. Pierre had claimed religious reasons for his actions, which led to a whole nother public outcry. Rightfully so. The principal has since apologized and reversed his actions. So last time I checked, a principal's oversights over a student ends at the school's gates. More or less. What students do in their personal time, especially off school grounds, is none of the school's damn business. Schools have a responsibility to ensure a safe and conducive learning environment. However, this responsibility doesn't extend to policing students' personal lives outside of school hours or premises. Kaylee's actions, whether you agree with them or not, took place in her personal time and had no direct impact on the school environment. By punishing Kaylee based on a personal judgment of her actions outside school, the principal blurred the lines between personal beliefs and professional responsibility. This sets a real dangerous precedent when students could be penalized for any behavior deemed inappropriate by school administrators, even if it has no bearing on their academic performance or conduct within the school. Now let's talk about administrators following their high school students on social media. I mean, it's creepy and invasive to say the least, stalkerish to say the most. It's like your boss following you around on your weekend getaway. Literally, no one wants that. Students, like all individuals, have the right to privacy. When school administrators follow students on social media, they're intruding into their personal lives. This can create an environment where students feel constantly monitored and judged, leading to self-censorship and lack of self-expression. By keeping tabs on students' personal lives through social media, administrators open themselves up to biases. They might form opinions of students based on their online activities, which could influence their professional interactions with the students. There's a reason for professional boundaries. They ensure that relationships remain respectful and unbiased. And when these boundaries are crossed, you run the risk of compromising the trust and respect essential for a healthy student-administrator relationship. So while schools have a role in guiding students, they shouldn't overstep their boundaries. Students have a right to their personal lives, and administrators need to respect that.
Republican lawmakers in North Carolina have enacted significant changes to the state's election laws. The new laws will alter the composition of state and local election boards, reduce the time for returning mail-in ballots, and grant new powers to partisan poll watchers. The changes have sparked immediate legal challenges from Democrats and voting rights groups.
Okay, now the GOP-controlled legislature has pushed through controversial voting law changes, overriding vetoes by the Democratic governor. Supporters say the changes will restore confidence, but critics argue that they'll suppress votes, especially among younger and minority voters. One hotly debated revision requires equal partisan division on county election boards, which could lead to deadlocks over early voting sites and vote certification. Much like having a bunch of cats and dogs plan a dinner party, good luck with that reaching an agreement. One law tosses out same-day registration ballots if postal services can't deliver confirmation notice on the first try. This could disproportionately impact college students or those with unstable housing. Sort of like getting your electricity cut off for not hearing the doorbell ring once. Another rule ends the grace period for mail ballots to arrive after election day, except for military voters who still get a 9-day cushion. Leaked records show that behind the curtain, GOP attorney Cleta Mitchell helped draft the legislation. She's been leading the voter suppression efforts nationwide. Sort of the Wizard of Oz of the effort. I don't agree with it, but I respect it. Not really, I don't respect it. Sorry, cheating's cheating. If you can't win fair, then maybe you shouldn't be winning. Anyways, with Republicans tightening their grip on North Carolina's government and courts, legal challenges to these voting changes face uncertainty. The state's GOP seems pretty intent on retaining power regardless of popular opinion. Oh, by the way, this is what happens when gerrymandering is allowed to run rampant. And on that note, we're gonna call it a day. Be sure to let me know how you felt on any of today's topics. Also, don't forget to leave us a like and subscribe. So until next time, stay weird, stay safe, and I will see you on Friday.